From the Cold War nuclear arms race to how Egyptian flower birds eat leftover food in between crocodiles' teeth, game theory can help us understand the world we live in and give us a better understanding of how we can use it for our own benefit. By understanding game theory, literally everybody, from politicians, leaders, analysts, and even yourself, can learn how to devise an effective strategy and foster cooperation for the betterment of all. We're here in Santa Monica to play a quick game called Split or Steal that can show how people make their decisions. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, over here, quick question. Awesome. Hello, guys. We're back over here again. We just met two different strangers over here. What's your guys' names?
Greta and Migla.
Hyro. Okay, so the concept is simple. There's three scenarios over here. Scenario number one, you both decide to split. What happens then is you share half the value, which is $5 each. Or scenario two, you split, you steal, you lost, they take all the money. Scenario number three, they both decide to steal. Nobody gets anything. So I'm gonna hand over two cards over here. Steal, and then split. All right, I'm gonna give you this to you as well. Now you guys are gonna have 1 minute to talk with each other, to persuade each other to make a decision. All right, let's start.
I'm gonna split it.
You want to?
Yeah.
What if he's lying to you? What if he's just, you know?
What if we are lying?
Oh.
Eyes never lie, so.
Oh, okay. What do you have to say to that?
It's true.
I hope you do steal now.
No.
Okay, so what makes you think he's lying? He's not lying.
He's not lying.
What tells you exactly? Why are you so confident? Oh. What do you have to say?
I don't know.
Oh, he doesn't know. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to put it to the test. All right, are you guys ready for this? Igor, you wanna receive the cards from them? All right, hand over the card that you like to do.
All right.
Okay, you're in the moment of truth.
Turn the cards around.
Oh, you guys got scared. It's over here. Oh, wait, what?
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. Wait,
Are you gonna split it with them after all? Sure.
Oh, he decided to split it after all.
Sweetheart.
Okay, he is a sweetheart. I think you were right. Okay, so $5 for each of you guys. What? Oh, the eyes. I see. The $5 over here for you, and the other 5 here for you. Yeah. What are you guys gonna do with the $5 over here?
Still not sure.
Still not sure. What about you?
Buy a churro.
Oh, that's a good deal. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you for playing, guys. What would you do if you were playing Split or Steal? You may think the rational strategy then is to steal because your opponent is never going to have more than you. Meaning that if he decides to steal, then you both get nothing. But if he decides to split, then you get everything. So you're always winning or you have nothing. But if both of the players, yourself and your opponent, are thinking the same way, then nobody wins. You both actually lose. This highlights the fundamental tension of game theory, which is the conflict between individual rationality and collective benefit. Split or Steal, that you hopefully understand now, is actually a gamified version of the original thought experiment titled The Prisoner's Dilemma. Back in the 1950s, when the Cold War was a big thing, and the United States is trying to figure out how do we actually make the best decision, two mathematicians are assigned to work at the RAND Corporation, which is a think tank for understanding strategic behavior, are assigned to come together and mathematically figure out the best possible way to deal with an opponent when you don't know what they're going to do. These two mathematicians, Merrill Flood and Melvin Drescher, would structure a scenario that would later be stylized by another mathematician, Albert Tucker, to be known as the Prisoner's Dilemma. So what exactly is the Prisoner's Dilemma? Imagine this. You and your partner in crime are arrested and taken into police custody. Now you're going to be interrogated separately, where you have two choices. To cooperate, meaning you're going to keep your mouth shut and not incriminate yourself and your partner, or you're going to end up defecting, meaning you're a smart ass, you're going to try to talk yourself out of it somehow by confessing. There's 4 ways this could play out. The first, you both decide to stay silent, so now the police only has so little on you guys and no confessions, so 2 years each, a collective of 4 years. You both decide to snitch on each other, and now the police has your confessions and they know about your larger secret history, so now you're going to be serving 5 years each. Your friend decides to snitch on you, and now he's walking free, but you're in prison for 10 years, or vice versa. Mutual cooperation achieves the best collective outcome. If even one person defects, there's a guaranteed 10 years that you guys will serve. That's way worse than the 4 years you guys could have done if you cooperated. Trusting somebody is perhaps one of the most difficult things to do, which is why mutual cooperation is a very unstable state. For what you know, if you get thrown on the bus, the defector is going to walk off and you're going to pay the price. These thought experiments are simple, yet very insightful. We observe these patterns throughout history. Let's consider the Cold War nuclear arms race. Although game theory was already developing during World War II, its progress accelerated during the Cold War as it became more prominent in informing political decisions. From the late 50s till the eventual demise of the USSR in 1991, the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a fierce arms race. Each party built up a large nuclear arsenal despite the fact a large number of nuclear weapons on this planet isn't beneficial for anyone's safety. This happened because they were unable to trust each other. Just like two prisoners from the prisoner's dilemma were not able to trust each other, both countries acted out in their self-interest and kept stockpiling nuclear weapons. Luckily, after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, diplomatic efforts prompted a wave of denuclearization.
Among the many missions in Geneva, 2 are particularly active this day. The secluded tree-shaded Soviet mission, and downtown in a building of glass and aluminum, the mission of the United States, headquarters of the United States Disarmament Delegation. Here negotiating strategy is worked out. The United States position has always been that arms control agreements must depend on more than goodwill and trust alone. That nations will sign an agreement does not guarantee they will live up to it. In disarmament, a foolish agreement, an unenforceable agreement, an agreement without safeguards and adequate inspection provisions could increase the likelihood of nuclear war.
The United States and Russia cooperated to move towards a mutually beneficial state. They disassembled much of their stockpiles in stages. At each stage along the way, both parties would ensure the other party is cooperating. Thanks to these efforts, contemporary stockpiles are roughly 11% and 12% of their peak numbers. This reflects the substantial progress in nuclear disarmament, although a nuclear-free world has not and probably wouldn't be ever achieved. This cooperation has made the world a much safer place for everybody. Another surprising example of game theory can be found in Robert Axelrod's 1980 book, The Evolution of Cooperation. The book highlights another instance of game theory where soldiers from opposite sides cooperate for survival benefits during World War I trench warfare. Despite the brutal and deadly conditions of World War I, soldiers on both sides of the Western Front often engage in what is known as the live and let live system. This phenomenon saw enemy soldiers exercising restraint and avoiding unnecessary hostility. There was times that soldiers would walk openly within rifle range of the enemy without being feared of shot. And this wasn't a one-time thing. A third of British troops in trench warfare reported participating in the same system. This unexpected cooperation flourished despite the strict orders from senior officers to maintain aggressive posture and the intense animosity that warfare naturally brings. The live and let live system demonstrates that cooperation can emerge even in the most hostile environments. The soldiers recognized that unnecessary aggression would lead to pointless casualties and retaliation that would only create a cycle of violence that benefited no one. Thus, through a series of unspoken agreements and mutual understandings, enemy units often found ways to coexist peacefully despite the broader context of war. This fragile peace was maintained by the recognition that restraint today could prevent a worse fate tomorrow, proving that even in the most dire circumstances, cooperation can be a powerful force for survival. This isn't just based on anecdotal evidence. Let me explain. One of the most intriguing explorations of game theory comes from the early chapters of Axelrod's book. Axelrod held a 2-round computer tournament to see which strategy would perform best in a repeated prisoner's dilemma game. After all, that is essentially what life is. A series of repeated interactions with other agents in our environment. In round 1, professional game theorists were invited to submit their favorite strategies, and each of those decision rules was paired off with each other to see which would do best overall. Each program had to decide whether to cooperate or defect based on their history of interactions. The tournament was structured as a round robin. where each strategy played against every other strategy, including itself and a random strategy. There were many interesting strategies submitted to this tournament. Some players submitted simple, naive strategies, such as always cooperating or always defecting, regardless of what the opponent did. Others submitted more complicated strategies such as Pavlov, also known as win stay, lose ship. As the name suggests, the decision rule stays in the same choice if it won the last round, but if it lost the last round, it shifts its choice. Here, winning is defined as either mutual cooperation or cooperation from your opponent when you defect. Another strategy that I find funny is Freeman, also known as Grim Trigger. This strategy starts off by cooperating and continues to do so unless the opponent defects. In that case, Freeman is never going to cooperate again. It's not a very particularly successful strategy, but I'm sure we all know people who live by that rule. In round 2 of this computer tournament, Axelrod asked for more entries to be submitted by amateurs and professionals. This round features 62 entries from 6 different countries. Despite many more complex strategies submitted, the outcome was the same as round 1. Axelrod's analysis showed that strategies that were too competitive and not forgiving enough did not cut it. Successful strategies needed a balanced retaliation and forgiveness, ensuring that mutual cooperation could be maintained and echo effects of mutual defection could be minimized. Surprisingly, it was a simple strategy that came out on top, tit for tat, that was submitted by Anatole Rampour and won both rounds. Tit for tat starts by cooperating, and then it simply mimics the opponent's previous move. It's really quite a simple strategy. You can even compare it to the age-old ideal of an eye for an eye. Axelrod found 4 characteristics that were common among top-performing strategies. First off, successful strategies are nice, or in other words, they're never the first to defect. Secondly, successful strategies are retaliatory. While they hope to cooperate, they're not afraid to respond to defection with defection. Next, successful strategies are also forgiving. While they do retaliate against defection, they return to cooperation if the opponent does so. Last but not least, successful strategies are clear. Strategies that are too complex can seem random, and that results in a lack of trust. Clear strategies are easy to work with and also easy to identify. Tit for tat checks all these boxes, and that's what makes it so particularly effective. Despite the fact that this strategy never actually earned more points than an individual opponent because of its copying nature, what it does work towards is maximizing its own score by pushing for mutual cooperation as much as possible. So, what do we learn from all this? Well, game theory, especially the iterated prisoner's dilemma, has some pretty solid advice on how to handle interactions in the real world. Axelrod has 4 pieces of advice that he highlights based on these results of the iterated games. Don't be envious. It's easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to others, but in most situations, everyone can do well, or everyone can do poorly. Life isn't a zero-sum game where one person's gain has to be another person's loss. Focus on yourself and your success, and remember in the long run, cooperating with others can often lead to better outcomes for everybody. Don't be the first to defect. Always start by being cooperative. If you are the first to betray someone's trust, you might start a chain reaction of retaliation that's hard to stop. It's like in any relationship, trust is hard to build, but it's very easy to break. If you keep things positive from the beginning, you're more likely to keep things that way moving onwards. Reciprocate both cooperation and affection. This one's all about giving as good as you get. If someone's being helpful and being cooperative, you should be too. But if they start taking advantage of you, don't just sit there and take it. Stand up for yourself. It's a balance between being fair and not being a pushover. Don't be too clever. Sometimes simple is better. Overthinking and trying to outsmart everyone can make you seem unpredictable and untrustworthy. If people know what to expect from you, they're more likely to cooperate with you. Keep your actions straightforward and clear. It builds trust and makes it easier for others to work with you. These pieces of advice are not just theoretical. They're very practical and can be applied in everyday life, whether you're dealing with friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers. If there's anything you take away from this video, just remember that cooperation can be a powerful force for survival and success. Think about these points the next time you're making a decision that affects you and others. It's not just about winning or losing, it's about finding ways for everyone to come out ahead.
The point to be emphasized is that even among countries that fear each other, distrust each other, dislike each other, there can be a powerful common interest